Okay, so now we're going to look at rationalizing denominators. So when we're talking about fractions, we do not want to have any roots in the denominator, okay? That's not allowed. So what we end up doing is kind of like when we get common denominators, how we multiply the top and bottom by the same thing to create that common denominator. We're going to multiply the top and bottom by the same thing, but it's going to be the root from the bottom. Now, if there were other numbers in the bottom, that's fine. We don't have to worry about them. It's only the root that needs to be moved. Because when we multiply by this, we're going to create a perfect square in the denominator, which then simplifies. No more roots in the bottom. Then we just finish simplifying our problem. Now, when we are multiplying, you can multiply things underneath the roots. You can multiply things outside the root, but you can't multiply something that's outside with something that's inside. Okay, so they stay in their respective places. Okay, let's go ahead and try a few of these. So our first one we're going to look at is the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. So we said we multiply the top and the bottom by the root that's in the bottom. So square root of 2. Okay. When we do that, well, 3 times 2 is 6. So we have the square root of 6 on the top. 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 4. Well, what is the square root of 4? It's 2. So now I have the square root of 6 over 2. No more roots in the bottom, so we're happy there. Then we just see, well, this is not in a root, this is. We can't simplify them at all. So that is our final answer. It is rationalized. It is as simple as possible. If you type this in a calculator and this in the calculator, you're going to get the same weird decimal because they're the same thing. Just like saying 2 over 4 is equal to 1/2 is equal to 0.5. They're all the same thing. So it's just a different way of writing it. Okay, let's try one with a little bit bigger numbers. Square root 25 over square root of 10. So we're going to multiply by square root of 10 on the top and the bottom. That gives me, well, 25 times 10 is 250, and 10 times 10 is 100. Well, square root of 100 is 10, so we know we have a 10 in the denominator. Then we have to do the 250. So I'll just do a little factor tree over here. 250, that's 25 and 10. 25 is 5 and 5. 10 is 2 and 5. It's a square root. I need 2 of a kind. So I have those 5s, and I have a 2 and a 5 left over. So the square root of 250 simplified, like we were doing earlier, to 5 square root of 10. So no more roots in the bottom. We're happy there, but then we need to check our fraction. Does 5 over 10 simplify? Yeah, it's 1/2. So this 5 cancels. That becomes a 2, and we have the square root of 10 over 2. 10 and 2 don't simplify because one's under a root, one's not. But the numbers that were outside or not in roots were allowed to simplify. Okay? Now, some of you may have noticed that, okay, this is 5. That just kind of skips this step. And that's fine. If you want to simplify roots before you start to rationalize, that's perfectly fine. If you just want to always rationalize first and then simplify, that is perfectly fine as well. Okay, let's try another. 3 over the square root of 2. Now this one doesn't have a root on top. Actually just makes it a lot easier. So we're going to multiply by the square root of 2. On the top, I get 3 square root of 2 over the square root of 4. We already know square root of 4 is just 2. 3 over 2 doesn't simplify, so we are done. And that's why they're easier, because there's less roots. Okay, let's try another one. Square root of 2 over square root of 5. So what are we going to multiply by this time? The square root of 5. Always go with what's in the denominator. So we get square root of 10 over square root of 25. Well, square root of 25 is just 5. Those don't simplify because the 10's under a root, the 5 is not. There's our answer. Okay, let's try one that might require a little bit more work. Square root of 15 over square root of 6. So this time we're going to multiply by the square root of 6. And we get the square root of 90, that's 15 times 6, over the square root of 36. Square root of 36 is easy. That's just 6. But the question is square root of 90. So we'll do that one over here. If I break up 90, I know it's 9 and 10. 3, 3, 2, and 5. These are all square roots, so we just need 2 of a kind. So I can bring out that 3, and I am left with the square root of 10. So are we finished? There's no roots in the bottom, so that's good. But there's that 3 over 6. 3 over 6, well, 3 goes into 6 2 times. So we have the square root of 10 over 2. Make sure that you are always simplifying as much as you possibly can. Now, there is one other type of rationalizing problem that we can have, and that's when there's numbers outside already. So if we look at those, let's do 2 square root of 4 over 2 square root of 5. So remember we said we only need to multiply by the root part. So all I need to multiply by is the square root of 5. If you forget and multiply by 2 square root of 5, that's fine. You're just going to get bigger numbers that simplify to the same thing anyway. So this 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom stay there. Okay? 5 times 5 means we've got the square root of 25 on the bottom. 4 times 5 means we have the square root of 20 on the top. Now we need to look and see how do things break down. So we still have these 2's. If I take 20 and break it down, 4 and 5, 2 and 2, there's my pair, there's my extra. So I've still got that 2 that came out and the square root of 5. Notice I'm still multiplying. Anything out in front just gets multiplied by anything that we bring out as well. 25, square root of that is just 5. So doing our math, multiplying these numbers outside, I get 4 square root of 5 over 10. No more roots in the bottom, we're good there. Does the fraction 4 over 10 simplify? Yeah, it simplifies to 2 over 5. So our final answer would be 2 square root of 5 over 5. So make sure when you do these rationalizing problems that you look at your final answer. Is there a root in the bottom? If so, you're not done. Does the fraction, the part not under the roots, does that simplify? If so, you're not done. So always look and see, because people tend to get almost done and then forget the last step. So just double check your things when you're done. You can go ahead and finish your worksheet, finish the Quizalize, do the other quizzes, and work on stuff from there.